Your monthly subscription box from postflybox.com includes all the materials needed to tie a dozen flies, along with some extra goodies. The Mercury Midge, although diminutive in size, comes up big in terms of fooling fussy trout just about everywhere, but particularly on tailwaters. The fly starts with a size 18 curved shank hook. Plunger-style hackle pliers make handling small hooks like this much easier. Insert the point of the hook into the hole on one of the pearl beads and work the bead into the hook bend. Get the assembly firmly secured in the jaws of your tying vise. On the finished fly, the bead will be located at the back edge of the hook eye, but for now, push it down into the bend. Load a bobbin with a spool of 12/0 fire orange thread. Get the thread started on the hook shank behind the eye, and after building up a small thread lump, snip off the excess tag. Take a few more thread wraps to cover up the snipped off tag and elongate the thread bump rearward. Pick up your whip finish tool and use it to do a 6 or 7 turn back to front whip finish, seat the knot well, and snip or cut your tying thread free. Push the bead forward over top of the thread lump so it rests behind the hook eye, like so. Now, load a bobbin with a spool of white 8/0 thread. Get the thread started on the hook shank behind the bead, and after taking a few wraps rearward, snip off that excess tag. Take thread wraps about halfway down the shank, then up to the back edge of the bead. Snip a 3-inch length of copper wire free and get hold of one end. Lay that end on the far side of the hook shank at the back edge of the bead. Take thread wraps to secure it there, well down into the hook bend, before winding your tying thread forward to the back edge of the bead. Then about 2/3 of the way down the shank and back to the bead. Then a little further down the shank, back to the bead, then all the way down to the wire and back up. The idea here is to create a nice white tapered body on the fly and end with your tying thread at the back edge of the bead. Get hold of the wire and begin making open spiral counter wraps with it over top of the white body. 5 or 6 turns usually looks pretty good. Anchor the wire at the back edge of the bead with tight wraps of tying thread, then helicopter the wire to break it off close. Continue taking thread wraps to cover up the end of the wire at the back of the bead. Pick up your whip finish tool and use it to do a 6 or 7 turn whip finish, seat the knot well, and snip or cut your tying thread free. Finally, get hold of your head cement and apply an ample drop to the thread wraps immediately behind the bead. Once it sinks in and dries, your Mercury Midge is ready to fish. The orange thread within the pearl bead results in a nice realistic look, as does the copper wire in terms of segmentation. This fly may be small, but it's mighty.